Hey, beautiful people. If you're new, welcome to my channel. If you're coming back, welcome back. Today we're going to go back to Big Wave Dave from Genesis Apologetics. And I gotta say, why does he have the nickname Big Wave Dave? As far as I know, he's not Australian. But that's okay, Dave. Maybe you just want to pretend to be a surfer. Anyway, I'll say cowabunga to you anyway. I still can't find any education. You might want to go by and fix that, by the way, if you want anybody to take you seriously. At any rate, let's see if he can be a little bit smarter this time and I can spend more time going through some of this stuff instead of spending my time correcting his dumb ass on things that he should know if he wants to be teaching this shit. So, balls in your court, Dave. What kind of stupid you got for me today? Oh, and by the way, might I suggest that you sit down? I really don't want to see you hurt yourself. I mean, yeah, we're on opposite ends of the playing field here, but seriously. And while you're thinking about it, if you're new, why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button? And if you've already subscribed to me, make sure you're still subscribed because for some reason YouTube loves to unsubscribe people. Also, if you're new here, I'd like to thank you very much for giving me a chance. And for my fans and subscribers, thank you so much for coming back. You are the lifeblood of this channel. And now, with that, let's get on with the video. Man, I gotta hurry this up. This video is only like 13 minutes long. I mean, it is for kids. By the way, nice going trying to get kids involved in your cult because you know there's no fucking way you can get adults indoctrinated into your cult. Good job. I am, of course, being sarcastic with the good job. But anyway, getting back to it. It's just that he is so wrong. There is so much packed into this video that is wrong that I have to stop and correct it. But I'm sure there's something that he goes over that I have already gone over, or because it's so ubiquitous in the yucker community that I will go over it at some point. So I can probably skip some of his points. This will probably be the last response for this particular video. Not with Big Wave Dave, because, I mean, I'm kind of feeling him. Yeah, he's a dumbass, but hey, you know, you gotta love dumbasses. What else would I do with my time? What would atheists do with most of their time, right?
Okay, so in 1912, scientists found some fossils. And from these fossils, once again, they announced, we have proof that humans evolved from ape-like creatures. They made pictures like this. They put together textbooks, all kinds of different news that Darwin was right. But let's take a closer look. So they said, you know what? Let's take a look at the fossils one last time. Now, when they did, they found something shocking. Piltdown Man was a fake. Somebody had taken the jaw of an ape and joined it with the skull cap of a human and then used tools on it and stained it to make it look like it was real. Do you know what that means? That means that people were taught a lie for over 40.
You know what would help your credibility? Stop lying all the fucking time and stop using long debunked arguments and arguments that have known to be debunked for a long time. Yes, Piltdown Man was found in 1912, but it was not found by scientists. It was found by an amateur archaeologist in Piltdown Village near Sussex, England. He wrote to Arthur Smith Woodward, Keeper of Geology at the Natural History Museum of Great Britain, and Smith Woodward came out to help him dig, and they found more fragments of the skull, including the teeth. They also found a jawbone, more scattered fragments of the skull, and primitive tools, meaning they didn't just find that piece of skull that you had highlighted in your little thingy there. Honestly, if you guys want people to take you seriously, you have to give them more than fake shit that they can find out is false with no more than 2 seconds effort on Google, because that's what I did. Of course, I already knew that Piltdown Man was a hoax, but that's not very special nowadays, considering most people, aside from young Earth or sheeple, know that Piltdown Man is a hoax. So please try harder with your lies. Really, I'm getting bored with this because if I don't already know it, it is so easy to fucking look up. It is just plain ridiculous. Then, of course, the easier it is to debunk, the easier it is to get your people out of this. Okay, so getting back to Piltdown Man, in 1949, a new test came out which Dr. Kenneth Oakley used on the skull bone, and the skull bone turned out to be 50,000 years old, which ruled out any chance that this was a Pleistocene ancestor of modern humans. So, science doing what science does, unlike you, who's perfectly fine with dumping everything, science wanted to know what this thing was. So they enlisted the help of a biological anthropologist by the name of Dr. Weiner from Oxford University to help them in this quest. And they found out that these fragments were from a non human great ape, probably an orangutan, and a human. And this has been known since 1949. Widely known, I might point out, long before I was ever even thought of. So you have no excuse.
Let's take a look at Neanderthals. So this was one of the first skulls that they found. And from that skull, they hired somebody to make a picture that looked like this. Wow, that's really scary.
In the broader sweep of human evolution, the more unusual group is not Neanderthals, whom we tend to look at as strange, weird and unusual, but it's us, the Homo sapiens. More than 500,000 years ago, the last common ancestor of Neanderthals and modern humans was wandering the Earth when a pivotal genetic mutation caused some of their brains to suddenly improve.
Now, since then, scientists have found all kinds and hundreds of different fossils and artifacts. We now know that Neanderthals, they made tools and then musical instruments and jewelry. They cooked, they buried their dead, and all the evidence shows that Neanderthals were not ape men. They were fully human.
Nice. Something I can skip because I've already covered it in one of my John Pendleton videos, if I remember correctly. At any rate, um, yeah, chimpanzees use tools, you idiot. You need to update your knowledge. Of course, updating your knowledge is against your religion, and it doesn't bode very well for your argument now, does it? Especially considering updating your knowledge includes knowing that we have sequenced the Neanderthal genome and it is different than the human genome. And by the way, while I'm on top of this, uh, if Neanderthals are just humans, how can we figure out that some people have Neanderthal DNA? Hmm? It's almost as if you're lying. Either that, or you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Either way, you don't need to be talking about this because, you know, you're either trying to mislead people or you just don't know. Now, obviously, it's okay not to know things. There are plenty of things I don't know. There are plenty of things that nobody knows. But that doesn't mean that if you don't know something, that you should be getting up there and telling it like you do.
Okay, let's review what we got. Nebraska man was a pig. Piltdown man was a fraud. Let's let God take care of this one.
Wait a minute. Those are the only examples you're going to offer? Two well known debunked myths. And Homo neanderthalensis, which, by the way, is not a human, it's just in our genus. Okay, are you going to say then that a lion and a tiger are the same species because they're in the same genus? I don't get what you're trying to get at here. You really need to be more specific in what you're saying. Also, would you classify Homo erectus or Homo naledi as just human? And then what about the Denisovans? And if you're just going to classify them all as humans, what makes Denisovans different? You see, Davy Wavy, if you're going to put forth this stupid argument, you're going to have to back it up with reasons, which you don't. I mean, you don't even have any bad reasons. You have no reason at all.
Okay, so let's talk about the latest poster child, Artie. This is what they found. I don't know about you, but that kind of looks like E.T. or something like that. I mean, this is just what a mash of bones here, right? But that didn't stop them from doing this. They made all kinds of movies and posters and videos.
This is Ardipithecus ramidus, and a team of international researchers introduced this hominid, member of the human family that lived 4.4 million years ago, which is about a million years older than Lucy's species, and they flesh it out. And what they're telling us in these 11 articles is that it doesn't look just like us, which is not surprising. You wouldn't invite them to dinner, but it doesn't look just like a chimpanzee either, which is a big surprise.
So instead of thinking of something in between a chimp and a human, we have to think of this as really not a series of links in a chain, as much as branches in a peculiar branch. We have very strange feet and huge brains. How did that happen? Well, we have to work our way back down our branch. And so we're getting pretty close to the fork that was between the line that led off to the chimpanzees and the line that led off to us. And Ardipithecus takes us pretty far back toward that branch and informs us that the node point, the junction, the last common ancestor, was neither human nor a chimpanzee. It was something entirely different.
Oh, okay. I guess you have more. Thank you. More for me to debunk. All right. So let's talk about Artie. I don't know much about Artie, which is why I got those clips. So I'm just gonna give you what I know. Aw, little Davy Wavy's so cute in his stupidity because he thinks for some reason we should find skeletons all together and we don't have to reconstruct any skeletons, as if he hasn't heard of predators. Okay, so the first report of Ardipithecus ramidus was in 1994, but the skeleton nicknamed Artie was not found until 2009, and Artie has a divergent toe with a rigged foot. The pelvis, which had to be reconstructed because it was basically pulverized, shows both quadrupedal and bipedal features, so it really is unclear whether it was tree dwelling. Now, I could not find a picture that gave me a clear view of the foramen magnum on Homo sapiens sapiens, that is the hole at the bottom of the skull where the spinal cord runs through. This could give us a clearer picture of whether she was bipedal or quadrupedal or somewhere in between, given that her fossils are 4.4 million years old. My best guess is somewhere in between.
But how could they get all that from this smashed up collection of bones here? Because the only thing that I see that is really kind of clear that we know anything about is Artie's feet and her hands. And here's what's interesting. Her feet and her hands are totally ape-like. So why would anybody claim that she's our ancestor after all?
Okay, so this is a chimpanzee foot of today, and this is Artie. I couldn't find an up close and personal picture of her foot, but you can see it well enough. So I blew up Artie's feet as much as I could so you could just see her feet better. And I'm not going to bother with a human foot because everybody knows what human feet look like. So just eyeballing the chimp foot to Artie's foot, you can tell that there is a clear, distinct difference between the placement of the chimp toe and the placement of Artie's toe. And scientists do measure this stuff, believe me. But the chimp foot looks more like one of our hands because, I guess you could call it a hand if you really, really wanted to. Whereas Artie's foot, you can't really get away with calling it a hand now, can you? So I did find that picture that you showed. It was on the Institute for Creation Research. If you want to come off as being just a little bit legitimate, you might not want to go to the Institute for Creation Research for shitty science. So I cropped out as much as I could, including the first Artie photo and the human foot, because what I am concerned with right now is the second Artie photo and the chimp foot. so I could blow them up. The separate image that I have up here is a chimp foot that I found online. Another chimp foot because honestly, I don't trust you farther than I can throw you. Now, you look at these two chimp feet. Do they look the same to you? No. And please don't give me any shit about, well, of course they don't look the same because one's a right foot and one's a left foot. I don't give a shit, and you know that. And you know that's not what I'm asking about. So piss off with that flimsy excuse.
And here's what's interesting. Her feet and her hands are totally ape-like. So why would anybody claim that she's our ancestor? After all, these hands and feet are what apes use to climb in trees and to get into lots of trouble.
Look, Dave, I know it sucks to be you, but you suck at trying to be Jerry Seinfeld. So knock it off, okay? Now, to get to your point that I know you're going to make about Artie just being a chimp. To the best of my knowledge, nobody says that Artipithecus aramidus is our ancestor. I don't think anybody can say that. We don't have any DNA as far as I know. Let me know if I am wrong in the comments. I'm always open to being corrected. What we can say is that the species is in our family tree. This means, because obviously you have no idea what this means, surprise, surprise, it means that Artie may or may not be in our ancestral line. And just in case that's still too complicated for you to understand, Davy Wavy, this means we have no idea as to whether or not Ardipithecus ramidus is a direct ancestral species or a parallel species that fizzled. Also, you seem to think that we only look at her feet in order to declare that she was another species. I don't know why I'm surprised at that, but you people always seem to surprise me. FYI, dumbass, we look at more than just feet when declaring a new species. For instance, where is the foramen magnum? Now, it's hard to tell. On Artie, we probably have more skeletons now, but because the fossils are so old, I wouldn't be surprised that all of the skulls are in pieces. However, there is this little thing that forensic anthropologists are trained in called reconstructing. At any rate, the foramen magnum is the hole in the skull where the spinal cord comes out. In humans, it's at the very bottom of the skull so that our skull sits 90 degrees on top of the spine, and on quadrupeds, it sits further back on the skull because they're quadrupeds after all. And then you've got intermediate specimens like knuckle walkers, like gorillas, where the foramen magnum is somewhere in between. Probably the biggest indicator, at least that I would see, and I'm no expert on this, remember this, would be the pelvis, because We have a bowl-shaped pelvis because we walk uprightly, and quadrupeds don't. So I have no idea where the fuck you get the idea that we declare a new species just based on the foot alone. I guess from your ass, but we don't. Seriously, you need to look this stuff up. Well, friends, I'm going to leave it there for today. And also, this is the last episode for this installment of Big Wave Dave. I am going to come back to Big Wave Dave because, let's face it, he's fun and he's stupid. Leave a like and a comment for the algorithm. By the way, I love your comments. I do read them all, and I appreciate each and every one of your comments. And, I learn from your comments too. I'm not above having to learn. And I think that above all else is why living is worthwhile. Because if you know everything, why should you live? I mean, it makes no goddamn sense, right? You know? So live and learn, right? Live and learn. Also, if you are financially able, please become a member of this channel. You can become a member for as little as 99 cents a month. You get to have custom emojis in live chats, and you also get debunks at least one day early, usually 2 days early. You can also PayPal me, link in the description. If you can only do a one-time donation, I appreciate everything you do for me and everything that you call me out on when I make mistakes, because it's the only way we learn, people. It's the only way we learn is to know that we can make mistakes. And so, thank you very much. And thank you for being willing to teach my dumbass. Thank you. Bye.